AI agents are everywhere. They can plan, research, even write code. But how do you actually build one? We'll just explore few key concepts of LangGraph, so by the end, you will know exactly how to get started building your own AI agents. Don't worry, this video is not code heavy. Let's start with the Graph API. You know what is a graph, right? It is made up of nodes and edges. In LangGraph, nodes are functions that handles your agent's logic. Edges connect the nodes and determine the flow. Normal edges simply moves from one node to another, while conditional edges can be functions that determine which node to run next. There's one more key piece, state. It keeps track of everything happening as your graph runs. After we have nailed those basics, we'll dive into tools, which is like your secret sauce that gives your agent extra powers like accessing a database or performing a web search. Don't worry, we'll keep it step by step. Let's start with the state. Think of state as the memory of your graph. It remembers everything that has happened so far. LangGraph gives you a ready-to-use state class called MessagesState, which you can import from langgraph.graph. This class has a property called messages, where you can store and track all the messages as your graph runs. And if you ever need something more advanced, you can always create your own custom state class. But to keep things simple, starting with the messages state is the easiest way to get going. A node is just a function that takes your current state as input and runs some logic. Often, a node is where you interact with the LLM. For example, sending a system message and the entire conversation history to generate a response. But nodes can do other logic like doing calculations or doing API calls, depending on what you want your agent to do. There are two special nodes, the start node and the end node. As you have guessed, the start node marks where your graph begins and the end node marks where it stops. Now let's connect the nodes together using edges. Edges are also functions that decide which node to run next. There are two main types of edges, the normal edges and the conditional edges. You can add a normal edge between two nodes using the add edge method of your graph. This will always move the flow from node A to node B. If you want something more dynamic, use add conditional edges. Here you pass in your starting node and a routing function. The routing function receives your current state as input and returns the name of the next node to run. This is how you can control where your flow begins. For example, if you add a normal edge from start to node A, your flow will always start from node A. But if you add a conditional edge, you can start with different nodes depending on user input. Now there is one more powerful feature. A node can have multiple outgoing edges. In that case, all of the nodes will be executed in parallel. Perfect for branching logic. Alright, now that you know how to structure your flow, let's give your agent some extra powers with tools. Tools let your agents do things that LLM cannot do on its own, like querying a database or performing a web search. You can write a function for each of those capabilities and tell the LLM, here are the tools that you can use. It will call the right tool whenever it needs to execute. When defining functions as tools, make sure to add type hinting and write a clear docstring. This will help the LLM to determine what each tool does and when to call it. Once the tools are ready, call the bind tools method on your LLM object to register them. This is how the LLM learns which tools it has available. Finally, you can create a tool node with all the tools. Tool node is a pre-built class that you can import from LangGraph.prebuild. It will execute whichever tools the agent selects. You just need to add an edge from your agent node to the tool node. Believe it or not, you already have enough information to build your first AI agent. You just need to compile your graph using the compile method and then invoke it to see your graph in action. And one last thing, everything we have covered so far has been theoretical. The best way to learn is actually build something. I'll make a separate video with a hands-on demonstration of agent creation if this video gets 200 likes. So like and subscribe if you want to see that. Bye.